Wow, Gavin, this is not an easy decision for us. One diamond pass, one spade pass, and it's our choice with this hand. I don't know,
Man,
man.
this is a really tough hand. We don't have a good rebid. This is a classic problem. We could rebid one no trump and that would show a balanced hand, and we don't have a balanced hand, or
Yeah.
we could rebid two clubs, but that we're gonna probably lose the heart suit. This is a really hard problem.
Yeah, and it's a problem that we will actually come back to, but I maybe we can give a decision first, Gavin. Why don't we ask our audience? Which thank you for joining us from the BAMSA conference, the teacher and coach conference. We are happy to be contributing to this in a small way, but we'll give you guys your choice first. What do you do with this hand after it goes a diamond, pass a spade to you? What is your decision? And as you're thinking about that, I think we'll circle back to this one later, Gavin, and have some examples of maybe what and what not to do. But let's talk about one quick question for everybody. What is the best way to learn bridge? What was it for you? How did you learn how to play bridge, Gavin?
I mean, I learned by playing a lot. Play, play, play. I would be at the bridge club every day and I would be going over my boards afterwards, looking back at my mistakes and learning from mistakes, learning through experience. That's how I've learned.
Yeah, and the way you do that as a bridge teacher slash coach is first of all, you want to tell your students to play as much as possible. When they're in class with you want to give them a similar experience as they're sitting in class learning for you. And that experience is decisions, 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 decisions. You want to give them as many decisions as you can in the time that you share with them so that they get a chance to make a choice based on the information and get feedback from that choice right away.
And the thing about bridge that makes it so difficult to learn is you might learn a topic in a class, and then it might take weeks and months for that topic to actually come up at the table. And by the time it comes up at the table, you've forgotten what you've learned. So a
Absolutely.
really big part of both of our teaching methodology is about giving students repetitive decisions on the topic so that it gets reinforced not naturally, but the opposite of naturally. Like when
Yeah.
like forcing it out,
Well,
forcing the
and
experience.
it's always easier to master something or to understand it when you've made an incorrect decision, right? You're learning, hey, why was that wrong? And oh, okay, I see it now, or maybe I see it after time 20 or 30. But the decisions are also super helpful for you, the instructor or coach, because the decisions, especially in an online environment, provide you great feedback, right? The biggest thing you and I talked about, my biggest barrier after we started teaching a lot of online classes, Gavin, is I couldn't see my students' faces and the perplexed look on their face. Whereas when you get them to make some decisions and you see where they're circling around, you know, hey, I need to spend more time on this, or hey, this crew's got it on this spot. Right, so you can give them decisions in any way possible. I'm going to show you just this is kind of an example of notes that Gavin and I would kind of use in some of our classes. We give them an auction, we give them a few hands to decide what to do with, and then we give them the answers. But the big thing is we want them to make a decision first. That is the most important thing. The worst thing you can do is give answers. You want to give decisions and then provide feedback, and that's how we're going to learn. And you can this feedback can and question can come in any format. Like, look at these. Hey, do you want to sign off? Do you want to invite? Do you want a big game? You can make it fun for people. It doesn't matter. The look of the content, Gavin, makes no difference. We can hop over to this whiteboard here, and all we need to do is have a little marker and a little bit of, hey, what do you do in this situation? Ace queen opposite too small. How do you play it? Right. So giving them any sort of thing. It doesn't matter what it looks like. The
And
content is the king.
one of the things that you talked to me about when we were preparing for this presentation was about what you did in your live class, which I think everybody can learn a lot from because I think it's such a wonderful idea. You said that when you walked into the classroom before it even started, that you can talk go oh, that led you in. Go ahead and talk about it.
Oh, well, Yeah, this was just my classroom in New York City. I kind of was the traveling bridge teacher in New York for quite a while. I worked at all the clubs, and they all shared one good thing in common. They had a nice whiteboard with some markers. So I would come in 15 minutes early and put 20 problems on the board. Simple stuff, maybe some bidding, maybe some play problems. And now you have an immediate engagement with people. They're making decisions right away. And honestly, the best part of bridge classes is some of the discussions you get into as a result of the decisions you give. And you get to find out, hey, where are the leaks in everybody's games? So we're super behind making as many decisions as possible in class. And I think you've probably heard your students say the same thing, Gavin. They're like, man, my brain hurts after about 60
Yeah.
minutes of a Gavin Wolpert class.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? They come away stronger because of it, for sure.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, topics that aren't going to come up that often, you just get to nail in a very short period of time.
And even topics that actually do come up, like the example that comes to my mind was I once taught a country club class on Stamen, and I did it on a Thursday, and then Stamen's something that comes up all the time, right? It comes up almost once a session. Either you or your opponents are using Stamen. And I came back to my class the next week and everybody had forgotten what Stamen was and or at least how to use it. And that just made me realize, okay, well, obviously some of your students are not going to be playing bridge all the time. And so it's a really good idea as a teacher in a live class setting is to give your students some examples to take home with them so that they can practice that topic right on, like, in between weeks, homework almost. Like,
Yeah.
it's really easy to give people a little sheet with the west hands and the east hands and have them sit down with their partner and write. You don't need a big technology even in live classes to give people lots of decisions, but you have to understand that just teaching a topic is not going to produce a whole bunch of students who know your topic. It's imperative that you're reinforcing it and giving them examples with the right answers afterwards for them to compare to, and providing them with an environment where they can come back and ask you questions about things that are really giving them a hard time.
I mean, that's a really good segue, Gavin. In fact, let's hop back into our play screen. And I can't believe how silly you were to pick this hand. It's really disappointing. And what a dumb hand to pick.
I mean, you're making me a little defensive here, man.
You know what?
I don't know how to react to these
and I would
comments.
never do that because this is a hard enough game to play in its own right. And you don't need somebody there kind of making you feel even worse than you may already feel. And that's just a simple kind of be kind and be supportive.
Empathize.
Yes.
Empathize with your students. This is it's a difficult game to learn. And when you're giving people a bunch of decisions like we're suggesting, what's going to inevitably happen is they're going to get a whole slew of them wrong.
Yes.
And it's so important that everybody understands that we all get a million problems wrong, and that's the only way to get better. And if you're not empathizing with your students, if you're making them feel badly about their decisions, like, how could you bid that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You showed 5 of these and you only have
silly.
3 of these.
You know, it's just the wrong motivation. And like the hardest thing to do as a budding bridge student is to put yourself out there and be willing to make mistakes in front of not just maybe your friends, but complete strangers. It's an alien feeling, and you want to make it as safe an environment as possible. And the other thing you and I talk about constantly, Gavin, is, and the best feedback I get from a lot of my YouTube lessons is, it is so refreshing to see a good player make mistakes. And I own everything because it is just a hard game, number one. And it is important that they understand we're all bad at this game, right? We're trying our best. All of us are.
No question about it, because we do definitely all we, like, on a daily basis, we're all making a ton of mistakes.
Yep. And no matter what level you're playing at, we're all doing the same stuff.
And on this same topic, before we move on to the next thing, I also think it's really important to stop and just every teacher needs to make sure that their students learn how to be a good partner, because the same way that we get defensive when we're learning from a teacher, we get defensive just like when Rob and I were talking about our problems when we're teaching. It's so easy to retreat into a ball and stop feeling good about yourself and start second guessing yourself all the time.
Yep.
That we have to breed better partners, and by creating an environment of your students that are all good partners, where people can go and find a new partner and not get attacked by their partners. It's just such a critical part of building a positive learning environment for your students.
Don't just teach it, live it, right? Be out there and just be a good partner, and just be supportive of everybody, and especially supportive of your students. And my favorite, they're all my favorite students, Gavin, but the students that I have that do the best are the ones that put themselves out there and actually go out and play. And they know where they play because that's the supportive environment that they get behind. So that's the best thing you can do. So let's look at our third topic here, and that's just keep it simple, right? In fact, I think you and I talked about somebody. We thought about a topic like, man, I don't even know how to teach that. I'm going to stay away from that for a bit, and it's just, that is perfectly fine to edit it down, to keep your stuff simple, and honestly to teach the stuff that's going to come up the most often for the vast majority of your students.
No question. Like that problem that we showed at the beginning of the set, where
we can jump back into it. This was a bad choice for us, for sure.
It is. You're showing an impossible problem. You don't want people to leave your lessons like, I don't really know what. Like you it's much better as
taught this in a quote unquote RealBridge class, for sure.
No, I would for my most advanced students, but honestly, when we're talking about teaching bridge, like a very small percentage of students are at a level where you would really need to get into it. Of course, you're hoping all of your students reach the level where that problems like this, although I don't know the answer anyway, so I would never ever bring this up with my students.
Let's just bid a no Trump and see what happens. Let's lay out the rope a little bit here. Oh, there's some new minor forcing. So this is a good one. This is something a lot of people don't necessarily default to. They think about just spades here, when really this is a massive win for when partner does have 4 hearts. We actually get to show our 4-card heart suit in this situation.
This was the big benefit of bidding one no Trump, for what it's worth, is that we got to keep hearts in the picture. Had we bid 2 clubs, it was going to be really hard to find a heart fit. But it didn't work out that way. The partner didn't have hearts.
Well, now partner bids 3 diamonds, and I don't know. Maybe we give this to the audience here and see what they want to do. What are you guys thinking out there? And honestly, we're recording this prior to your awesome conference over there, but I hope we can find a way to interact with you guys afterwards if you have questions about anything we presented to you and or any of the dumb decisions we might make.
And what we're showing right here is actually an example of one of our methods of teaching, where we're just sitting and playing kind of random problems and talking through our thought process and letting our students be over our shoulder, and so we're going through the problems with our students, and that actually is a great way to teach. It's because you're kind of experiencing it with your students, and in some cases you can really say to them and make it clear to them, this is a really hard problem, and I don't know the answer. So let's just go with something and learn from our experience.
And the biggest thing for me when and let's hop over to our last point, because we're kind of working right towards it in our conversation here. My best questions were answered with a thought process, and usually more of a question, but at least if someone was going to give me an answer, the guys I lived with in New York would just give me, well, this is what my left-hand opponent is likely to have. This is why. This is what I know about partner's hand. So this is my decision. And that is, if you can do that, the more granularity you can provide your students, the better about how you should be thinking. And that goes to my big thing here, Gavin, is I do not give answers. If someone asks me what should I bid, I make sure that they make a decision. So I don't give answers, I give decisions, and then I'm happy to provide all the feedback and answers someone wants after they go through that decision gate for us first.
And it's a lot easier to do this in an online environment than in an in-person environment, because obviously you can't stand in front of a classroom and have 30 people yelling out their answers and what they're thinking.
Well, but when you're works.
Well, but when you're teaching on a online through Zoom or whatever video conferencing software you have, you can let your students type their answers in chat. And what I love is to tell my students that not only do I want to hear what they would bid or what they would play with a certain hand, but I also want to hear their thought process, because I'm always telling them, as long as you have a thought process, you can fix your thought process. You can fix
Yes.
a bad thought process. You can't fix
You
no
can't fix
thought
just throwing
process.
a dart, right?
Yeah, you can't. So when I just kind of force my students to come out with an answer to the question, but not just the answer, also why or how they got to the answer. So that way, when we actually tell them why they should have done something, they've already gone through the process, and then they can see, oh, that's what I should be thinking about. And then the next time they face the same situation again, their thought process is what you've helped them improve.
Yep. And honestly, that's half of the battle, is just getting yourself to think and work through each of the problems that you're presented. The big thing is mistakes are gold, and that's what I try to teach my students. The best thing you can do is go minus 1100 on a terrible mistake that you know afterwards was wrong. You know, you rarely will make that mistake again, and if you do, okay, well, you're closer to mastery of that as well. But it's really important to just be comfortable making mistakes, and also make it a super safe environment, as we talked about before, and really let them think and make them think, right? Because that's the best payoff for them. So how about we tie this one off here and see what we do on this hand?
I don't see what we can do. We were down to either passing if that's a non-forcing bid. I just didn't see how many points.
Forcing.
It says 12 plus high card points, so we're boxed into bidding 3 no Trump. And we always one thing I'm always stressing with my students is we avoid 5 of a minor like the plague. We never go to 5 of a minor. If 3 no Trump is viable, we're headed to 3 no Trump.
I tell my students it's okay to play 5 of a minor on your birthday or the 4th of July, and those are it. We're from this side of the pond, so the 4th of July is one day. That's a pretty good dummy for us over there. It looks like we have
we got 4
rippers right off the bat.
4 hearts, 2 clubs, and 2 diamonds off the top, and it looks like we'll be easily able to develop a 3rd diamond trick, assuming that diamonds aren't terrible for us. So let's build our diamond trick. Let's win that club.
And this is kind of the thought process that we're just trying to impart every time we're giving a lesson, is kind of what we're thinking and why. So here, what do you think? You want to play ace of diamonds diamond toward that dummy? You want to play low diamond?
Yeah, we have to worry about a possible 4-1 diamond break, and I think if East has 4 diamonds, we're not going to be as well placed to pick them up. So I think that if West has 4 diamonds, we've got a reasonable chance to pick them up. So that's why I would like to start with the ace of diamonds and then lead towards the king 10 and see what happens.
Let's see if we can get a good decision for our audience.
Hope that's not a singleton 9. That's a scary 9.
Yeah. Well, let's
find out.
Boom.
Okay, so now this is a great suit combination to kind of talk about, where we can actually secure our contract now. So we have 2 options right now. If we go up, there's 2 diamonds left in the deck, right? The queen and the jack. And if we play the 10 and it loses to the jack, that's fine, because the queen will fall under our king. But if we play the king right now, then we will be in a position.
Right, we are in trouble, and then we don't have our 9 tricks either. So.
Right, so let's take our safety play, put the 10 in, and it's probably going to lose, but we're as expected.
We were to lose into the 9 anyway, right? We don't want to do anything funky here, right?
Well, we know we have 9 top tricks. The thing is,
we have 3 potential spade losers, so we cannot.
We've already lost 1 trick, and if we let them in again, they might rip 3 spades off against us. So yes, let's just take our tricks.
And Gavin, I have to tell you, you played this amazingly well, sir.
Oh, thank you. Now I'm feeling good about myself.
It's wonderful.
Be careful. It's going to go to my head. Just
see, and normally here, Gavin has seen me make 1 mistake before, and he's been eminently patient with me when I make misclicks. So I know he's very nervous right now. But right now, we're just going to claim we're not going to take any more tricks, and we'll see how that ends up. All right, Gavin, we locked in at 89.3% for our efforts on this one, and we also talked quite a bit about kind of how to conduct a good class as a teacher/coach. And,
we can't leave this without pointing out how well the robot bid their hand up there on the top. They responded to spade, and then over 1 no Trump, they had 5 spades, and they were really looking. They wanted to find out if we had 3 spades, so they used new minor forcing. heard that we had hearts and that was not what they were looking for, showed their
So now
diamond
they
fit.
pattern themselves out, and maybe sometimes it is right to play some diamonds on a hand like this because we didn't bid two clubs, right? So if we have a club problem, maybe we found our way out, or sometimes maybe to a 5-2 spade fit in these situations, or
Yeah,
something
I
like
think the
that.
robot bid their hand great, and we got away with our 90% board.
And honestly, Gavin is really hammering home the be supportive because honestly, Gavin and the robots have had a few issues in the past in some of our live classes, but this is just another great exhibition of your good teaching standards, my friend. And folks, thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, hopefully I have a way to contact you and or answer. But one thing I wanted to say, and I know Gavin, you'll echo me, is just thank you so much. Good bridge teachers and coaches are not that heralded, and we really appreciate you guys getting out there and kind of spreading the word about this game and teaching and coaching the newer players. So thank you so much.
And also for taking the time to watch these videos to help yourself grow as teachers. I think that's just a pretty important part of being a good teacher. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah, well, and until the next conference, and maybe one of these times, if it's not too early for us, we can join live, or maybe we'll make the trip over there someday. But thank you so much for watching, and best of luck to all of you. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you to BAMSA and RealBridge for putting this on, folks. Take care, everybody.